In the words of beloved author Dr. Seuss, today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive that is youer than you.
Just think about that. You are the most you that is alive right now. An individual organism unlike any other.
At least we think you're unlike any other.
You know, I've always wanted to meet my doppelganger.
But what if we told you that you may not be you in the way we just described?
Not that you're not special or anything. You certainly are in our eyes.
But what if there was another living thing inside of the you watching this video that's just as much you as you are you?
Look, I know a person's a person, no matter how small, but you can't possibly mean there's another living thing inside of me.
What if we tried looking at humans in a different light? What if we looked at humans in a way that disregards the organism completely?
Today, we're talking all about microbes.
And perhaps we'll find an answer to the age-old question,
Are we alone?
I hope it's recording. I think it is.
You are made up of approximately 30 trillion cells.
30 trillion human cells, but there are far more than 30 trillion cells in the average human body.
That's right. Every human being has microbes inside them. Incredibly small, typically single-celled organisms like bacteria and protists.
Now, that information doesn't sound necessarily groundbreaking. You probably knew this already. I know that I've had bacteria in my body because I was diagnosed with strep a while ago.
Well, are you good now?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
But what might be surprising is just how many microbial cells there are in your body.
Dr. Martin Blazer, the director of the Human Microbiome Project at New York University, estimates that each human body is host to over 100 trillion microbial cells, regardless of whether that body is ill due to bacterial infection.
If that number, 100 trillion, is accurate, that means that 70 to 90% of the cells in your human body are not actually human cells.
While recent studies have suggested that the ratio of human to microbial cells in each body is closer to 1:1, the living cells that enable the functions of your body are likely no more than 50% human.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, we'll pause here for a second.
But before we get you too worried, we probably want to talk about what the inhabitants of our bodies actually are.
Yeah, when we say bacteria, you probably want to go reaching for your nearest hand sanitizer bottle.
But most bacteria aren't pathogenic. In fact, the ones to which the 100 trillion number refers are not pathogenic.
There are many indicators that bacterial species have co-evolved with humans, each party mutually benefiting from dividing up the biological workload of processes like digestion.
World-renowned science writer Alana Collin describes it best in her book, 10% Human. After we've digested and absorbed as much as we can from what we've eaten in the small intestine, the food is passed on into the large intestine. There in the large intestine, microbes break down their preferred molecules, absorbing what they can. The rest is left in simple enough form for humans to absorb.
The trillions of microbes in your body are integral parts of survival.
And just as each human has a unique set of fingerprints, each human also has an entirely unique composition of microbes inside them.
Thus, there is a collection of living things inside of you that is entirely you. Perhaps each human body can be looked at not as an organism, but as an environment, a habitat for many other living things.
So, are we all born marked for contaminateness?
Contamination? That's an excellent question. The theory of coevolution seems to suggest that specific microbial species are destined
From before we're even born and interacting with the world?
to occupy your body.
And it's true. We see the presence of bacterial genes in the human genome. And we know that the human body won't acquire the faculties for digestion in the absence of bacteria, so it would seem that the possession of microbes is innate to the human body.
However, it is not likely that as a fetus is forming in the womb, its microbial community is also forming.
In fact, we've proven that this isn't occurring. Many studies relating to microbial composition use germ-free mice, mice born by C-section and raised under sterile conditions. Kathleen McAuliffe summarizes what we found relating to germ-free mice best in her book, This Is Your Brain on Parasites. Germ-free mice are typically devoid of microbes.
And we've seen similar patterns in human delivery as well. In the journal Frontiers in Genetics, Dr. Scott F. Gilbert reveals that babies born via C-section typically have relatively few microbial species in their body, and their microbial composition is not highly reflective of their mother's microbial makeup.
As would be expected if we were all born with a complete microbial profile.
many of the bacterial species found in the guts of C-section infants are also found in the hospital environment.
On the other hand, babies born vaginally typically have gut microbial communities that resemble those of the maternal vagina.
The microbial compositions of the infants delivered in both ways indicate that we acquire our microbial profile from our environment, whether that environment be the birth canal or a hospital.
So, though the human genome seems to contain sections which account for the presence of microbes, it would seem that the actual acquisition of those microbes is largely dependent on the environment.
Right. You're acquiring microbes throughout your entire life, from the air around you, the water you drink, even from your pets.
Which means that your microbial composition is dynamic. It changes over time.
But changes in microbial composition can potentially be detrimental. The reduction or increase in the presence of certain microbial species can have major implications for health and wellness.
For example, individuals typically lacking in the bacterial phyla Bacteroides are usually obese.
Even if they appear to be incredibly thin, their digestive processes, which we know are dependent upon bacteria, are extracting nutrients in a way that makes them likely to become obese later in life.
And experimentation with mice has shown us that this relationship is likely causational. Fredrik Backhed, professor of molecular and clinical medicine at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden, transplanted the microbes of obese mice into healthy germ-free mice. After doing so, he observed a change in the health of the mice.
And not just a small change. The newly colonized germ-free mice experienced a 60% increase in body weight within only 14 days after the switch. There was no change in the type or amount of food being given to the mice either.
Microbes are huge players in health and well-being, but not many people know about their significance. Currently, the living things inside of you are rarely taken into consideration when creating dieting methods, or developing new cleaning practices, or even producing medications.
This field of research has really only taken off within the past decade, but it is critical that it gains more attention.
Think of how much our lives could improve if we knew the ways to keep our microbiome healthy. We could reduce the rate of infections in infants, lessen the effects of several major neurological disorders, even slow the evolution of antibiotic-resistant superbacteria.
In this web series, we're going to highlight certain practices that you can use to better the health of your microbiome.
From the food you eat, to the medicine you take, to even the way you keep your home.
So let's dive into this biological frontier together. Next stop,
The Twilight Zone.
Stop it, you're gonna scare them.